So now we're live.
We're live.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get in case. I got a sound check.
So you're gonna be able to take all that extra off?
It's going on now.
No, but
So now we're live.
we don't want to keep it, do we?
Yeah, we live streaming.
So you're gonna be able to take all that extra off?
And you already done?
Nope. No,
So now we're live. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
is that where the delay is coming from? Right here? That's what.
just need to know if the thing is right.
This? Is that where the delay is coming from? We don't need that?
That's the one. That's our streaming from
That's
YouTube.
what.
Yeah,
Oh, that's probably gonna be. Where you get it at? Okay. So you want to pull up your phone?
You guys sound check.
Yeah.
The phone for Facebook.
That's right.
On my phone.
What?
I ain't gonna be able to go live on Facebook and pop it here.
They gonna be on there? Like, you've been able to see them before. If I don't come,
Yeah, I'm not playing
mic check, mic check.
it. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic
Mic
check.
check.
1, 2, 1, 2. Answering any other services. Yeah, mic check. This is here. I'm not supposed to come on.
So, on this, where do you want it to be?
Well, that if you don't, I mean that one has me and Chris in there. If you don't want to be in it, then it's fine.
And this is good?
That one has all of us in it. What is? Yeah. I don't usually have that part. So maybe turn it around. Yeah.
good deal though. We on that thing.
Yeah. It's just. Can you see the room? Can you see the chat window? On the desktop? You got the chat window enabled?
Table combos right here and bring it to the table. Let's talk about it. Is going to the strip clubs okay when you're married? There's your supper.
So I can just put it first one.
Where it's got after when it just says subscribe, like, and do this, or it's stop after we want to hear from you. Table combos right here. It bring it to the table.
Bring it to the table podcast, where you will hear hot topics that couples face in relationships updated here weekly. And while you're at it, rate us and leave us a review. We want to hear from you. Table combos right here and bring it to the table. Let's talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about it. Alright, everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Already one beer in.
Christopher.
I can't be eating candy.
It's gonna be.
No gun with the breakfast club.
You don't let you do all that.
Simple.
Right.
Open it and leave it out on the table if you want to eat it.
And we were in no barking either. You're gonna crumble the bag. You might want to put them in your napkin.
I don't know doing
In a minute. Okay.
Is he talking?
Huh? He just was when Chris did that bag.
Okay.
Okay, let me hold on here.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube.
Yeah, nothing. We should be able to get that.
You sure you haven't had your volume up?
Yeah, mine is on the chairs on silent. I can't remember this. I don't remember it.
Subscribe, like, and
No?
I'm not gonna open my mouth and go loud or what I see.
Okay.
Like you, your mouth.
The welcome
You
is
ready?
welcome on Christopher Tiptoe. Thank you for coming out with us today.
subscribe, like, and follow our show, Bring It to the Table podcast, where you will hear hot topics that couples face in relationships updated here weekly. And while you're at it, rate us and leave us a review. We want to hear from you. Table combos right here at Bring It to the Table. Let's talk about it.
right.
Man, what a day.
What a day. Like, what a week.
Yeah.
Today being Monday, so yeah, like, we had a good weekend.
Yeah, we did have a good weekend.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be back here today, Monday, you know. A lot going on.
Yep. We got to hang out with a few celebrity people in Hollywood yesterday while we was working.
Yeah, you know, red carpets, interviews and laughs, all of this stuff.
Seen your old boy Alex Thomas.
Yeah, he's fun. He's super fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, you seen what's his name from Love and Hip Hop? Booby.
Oh yeah, Booby that used to be married to Keisha Cole.
Yeah, Booby's cool.
Yeah, I'll post my picture a little bit later.
Lord, how to get on one.
Yeah, I see Love and Hip Hop cast a lot.
Well. Hey, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another edition of Bring It to the Table. I am your host, Christopher Tiptoe Williams, and
I am Doricia.
And we're just hanging out tonight, and we want to talk a little bit about, you know, some things that we've been putting together, and tonight's topic. Well, first of all, let's do a recap of last week. Remember, last week was pretty cool.
Yes. So last week we touched on strip clubs, which was pretty interactive. We had some live listeners that had some feedback for us, and we had some good communication going with that. But just so you know, for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, we broadcast live every Monday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time and 7 Pacific Time for usually 30-minute live broadcast. So we talk about the everyday normal topics that couples face in relationships and how to deal with them. And basically our point of view, how we work through things, how we work together as a family, as a couple, and team building and things like that. So we just are very positive, motivating people, and we are your cheerleaders for couples.
Yeah, you know there's a Cowboy game tonight, right?
Yes, that's where a lot of people probably are watching the game tonight.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
So we will catch you guys on the replay. But to our podcast listeners, we'd like to thank you for tuning in with us and taking us on the go with you. And for those that are joining in live with us via YouTube or Facebook.
What up, YouTube?
Hello. We welcome you all for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you.
So other than that, we also talked about the social media.
Yeah, social media and outside influencers.
Yeah.
Those are real big too. A lot of people have a lot to say about that too as well.
Yeah, gotta keep your circle positive and not have negative energy around your marriage. Always positive, uplifting, you know, iron sharpens iron. So you want to be around those that are doing great things, being positive and encouraging to you and your significant other in your relationship. Not those that are trying to get you to do bad things.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today then?
Today we're talking about dealing with dysfunctional family issues and breaking cycles.
So dealing with dysfunctional family issues and breaking cycles. That's a pretty deep one.
It really is, and I know it's kind of like a sensitive subject for some, and a lot of we have been taught to not talk about and bring up, but we talk about these things, and we think it's healthy to talk about it and discuss it. And some of the things that we talk about tonight was part of the foundation of how we decided that we were going to come together as a family and raise our family and instill those values with our kids. So if we don't talk about it, then we don't know what we don't like, what we do like. And not everything was bad. So, you know, there was some good things that were traditionally taught to us and that we learned along the way. And so definitely we want to build upon those things. And then there are some things like, I'm pretty sure like most people in America always want to do better. Like,
yeah, of course.
however you were raised, you always want better for your kids.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm sure our parents felt the same way for us, and their parents felt the same way for them. And that is just the cycle of how it goes. So yeah, that's we are going to definitely talk about those things.
Who just joined us up in the club?
And that's what we will do today. So
I see somebody joined us. Who is that joined us?
let's see. Dottie Reynolds, thank you for joining us today.
Hey Dottie, how you doing? Let us know, if you have any questions, because today we're talking about dysfunctional families and how do you break the cycles. So tell me something. We all come from a lot of backgrounds, ethnics, and things like that, color, creed, whatever it may have. What are some of the things you want to talk about?
So I wanted to talk about, first we're going to talk about the definition of what dysfunctional family means.
Yeah.
Because some things there are things that have happened just over the course of history. And a lot of what is that we know and how we act upon things are things that we have learned and have been taught to us and have been taught to our parents and to their parents and their parents. So it's not to put blame on anybody. It's all about what we know and what we have learned and already know. So if you don't know, then you can't do any better. So we just want to shed some insight on some of the topics that can help us. If you know about it, you can do research about it more for yourself. You can identify some issues that may be affecting you in your adulthood that you can address and break those cycles that are negative so it doesn't carry on into your children. And so that's pretty much what we want to talk about today.
Cool.
Having healthy families.
Yeah, that's important, a healthy family.
All right, so what is a dysfunctional family? So the definition of that is family dysfunction can be any condition that interferes with healthy family. So most families have periods of time where functioning is impaired by stressful circumstances such as death or serious family illnesses. However, in healthy families, they generally go back to being normal after the crisis period is over. But in the dysfunctional families, the problems are chronic and they continue over and over, and the children don't consistently get the needs being met. And that's basically what dysfunctional family is. The negative patterns of our parental behaviors tend to be dominant in our children's lives. And so that's what we want to talk about so that we can be better for our children and our children can be better for their children. All right?
I agree.
So, how you want to get started with this?
Well, dysfunctional can mean a lot of different things. It all comes with really having knowledge yourself and trying to better yourself to move forward. You know the old saying that says if you know better, you do better.
Right, right.
So if you know that you've been, like for example, the way that we eat, us as a culture, did you know that I read that over 70% of all black women are obese because of what they eat? They're eating soul food, eating all this food that's high in cholesterol and diabetes and stuff like that. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. But when you talk about soul food, like that's the bread and butter for African American culture,
Yeah, but
so that's real. That's like Sunday cooking, like holiday food too.
But that's when we have to realize that if this is killing our people, then why are we still eating it? So that's why you have to do your research. And you have to go and really, really go understand, that what you put in your body is what you get out of it. It seems good, but in the long run, it's killing you.
Yeah. So, like, that brings up a good point because a lot of what we eat and have grew up eating,
Oh yeah.
we only know it as good food.
Like that pork chop. Give me some of that pork chop.
Yeah.
I used to love pork chop before.
You can't tell nobody nothing. You know, pork chops, no bacon.
Well,
Gotta have bacon with breakfast.
Before I knew what pork chop could do to me, I used to love me some pork chops, some pig feet. You know what I'm saying? Chitlins, all that stuff. Until I realized what it was about, and started doing my research on it and realized that it was from a hog, and it gives you high blood pressure and cholesterol, and people are dying of strokes and diabetes and on dialysis. You know what I'm saying? Like it can really be used in the long run. It'll do you more habits. So there's a cycle right there that we have to break. You have to understand that the eating habits can be a dysfunctional way of passing down through generations. Where we did have to survive, a long time ago based on, we didn't really have much. But now that you know better, you would think people would do better instead of eating that pork chop.
Yes, that's a good point because we ate that way and it was good to us, but we don't. I think with that it becomes I'm living in the moment. So right now it's good to me. It tastes good. I don't care about the long-term effects right now. I'm just going to eat this because it's good. But later on, as we get older in our life and those things start to catch up with us, then we definitely have to pay for how we've treated our body. We only get one. And I think a lot of the times, right, especially in our younger days, we don't really think about the long-term effects until it affects our health, until we're on the medication, until we are having to deal with the medical issues, and we can probably prevent a lot of that if we do change some of our eating habits.
Yeah, I've changed my eating habits a whole lot. I learned and educated myself on what food can do for you. You got good food that can actually stimulate your body and your mind, Then you got food that tastes good, but ultimately is destroying your bloodstream. It's getting clogged up. It's like having a car. Instead of eating all this food that's clogging up your line, eventually it's going to give you a heart attack or you're going to go pop. So, really it's what you put into your body is what I've learned. So I do a lot of studying, eat a lot of greens, try to be more plant-based, That's pretty much the way we should be eating, is more plant-based and try to lay off of all of the meats.
Yeah, but so at one point in time we were doing the vegan, but then you had to get your protein levels back up and you wasn't getting them without that. So we had to find alternative ways for you to get protein levels back up.
Yeah,
so now you can do the protein drinks and things like that.
But that still doesn't mean that just because I'm getting my protein level back up, doesn't still mean that I could still stop being vegan, because there are other vegetables that can actually get your protein level up.
True.
You know what I'm saying? But
now that they're up, you can probably make those adjustments. But it's all about still, again, goes back to education and doing some research and about learning what you can do to as an alternative to just eating all foods. Yeah, all meats are not bad though.
No, they're not. Not all meats are not bad, but still, you want to try to stay away from as much as you can. If you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to. Especially in my experience, and I had to get my protein level. So
right.
It's forced to eat meat.
Yeah. And so when we learn those things, how to do better, that's when we teach our kids. Because if we don't know better, then our kids don't even have a chance at all.
Right.
Because as soon as they learn how to start eating, then we giving them bacon for breakfast, we giving them pork, we giving them just all the fatty foods and less fruits and vegetables. And that's part of the cycle of not educating ourselves on how to eat to live. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. So a while back, and I don't know if any of you have watched the documentary on YouTube, and I think it's on something else. I can't remember what else is on, but the documentary is called "What the Health," HEALTH. So if you watch that, I mean, it will really, really open up your eyes. And I was a person, before I looked at that, I was baking pepperoni, pork chops. That was me. But after I watched it, I had a newfound sense of what I'm not going to do. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I still eat some meats, but I don't do pork. I'm just not going to do that. But watching that, for a minute after I watched that documentary, it had me not wanting to eat cheese, just the dairy products, and it really just made me become aware of how the world is set up. Everything is for business. How these companies, these manufacturers, how they get together and they work with each other, and we are the ones that are suffering. Well, why they getting rich and they getting money?
Yeah.
Like they feed us the bad things, and then you go to the doctor, and the doctor puts you on the medication, and the doctors are in cahoots with the pharmaceutical companies, and the pharmaceutical companies are in cahoots with these manufacturers. It's a non-ending cycle.
So why do you think that is? Why do we always turn the other cheek? Is that a cycle of something, of dysfunctionality?
Yes. It's not knowing and not having knowledge of self.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Yep. Knowledge of self. You have knowledge of self, it gives you an opportunity to understand what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, that way you will know not to eat certain things, and, so what are some other points you want to talk about as far as like dysfunctional families?
So just a little bit about some of the things that we face in dysfunctional families, like some of the problems and circumstances that happens in our family that contribute to being dysfunctional. And some of these things, when they happen within our families, we've been taught not to talk about these things, to keep it hush, keep it quiet. You don't want to talk about it. But that's really not healthy to not talk about it, because it only affects you in your adulthood, and you carry these things on, these traumatic issues and these things that have happened in your childhood over into your adulthood if they haven't been addressed. And that's not being healthy for you as an individual. So you're being broken. You're broken already going into relationships, which you're not being a healthy mate for your spouse, because you have these internal issues that haven't even been dealt with. And then you address them and bring them down into you don't address them, and it carries over into your children. So that is the cycle that we are talking about that we need to break. So some of those things are like physical child abuse, families that are dealing with alcoholism within their families, mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
There's rape that's going on within families, or drugs. Have families that deal with members that are on drugs a lot. Of domestic violence, and some incest is one, way back in the day, and I'm pretty sure it's still prevalent in some families. But those are things that you don't talk about it, but it happened.
So what do you suggest when they bring to the table? Do they just need to bring to the table and have a discussion about that, to be open-minded? What do you suggest?
So I suggest, and what works for us is that we did talk about things that happen in our upbringing, positive, and those things that are some of those dysfunctional things that we just talked about. We talked about those things as an individual, and you and I were able to share stories and exchange, and that's good and that's healthy, that you should do those things because that help you understand the person you're in a relationship with better. So you will have a sense of knowing from if they act a certain way that this is where it's coming from, and you know how to deal with it. I think it gives you a better understanding of that. So you're not so quick to judge them. You have an understanding. Now with that, I think that also we need to take into consideration that some of the things that has happened within families needs more than just talking to each other. Like in a relationship, you may need to sit down and you may need to get some counseling or therapy to talk through those issues and have someone give you a positive perspective on how to go about being positive in life and to break those cycles, because those are sometimes generational things that happen in families, and it continues and it continues and it continues until someone speak up and talk about it and seek counseling and learn how to break that cycle. Because time after time it will continue to fester on, and we wonder why the divorce rate is high, because we don't know how to communicate, we don't know how to function, and these things that were not addressed early on because we were told to not talk about it, don't bring it up because that person may get into trouble, they may go to jail, or it'll break up the family, it will cause too much of this, so you just have to be quiet. And so those characteristics, studies show that adults raised up in those type of studies, that they report difficulty forming and maintaining healthy relationships, that they also have issues with positive self-esteem, trust issues, and fear of loss. Now that's real big. Let that just sink in for a minute. Like, how many times have we been in relationships throughout our course of our life, or even a marriage that you may have been in before, or you may be in right now? Can you honestly think back to any of those things that I just talked about? Have maybe somebody in the relationship with you or your own self had some of those tendencies? I think I can definitely say that. And so that's a perfect example of not having those things addressed early on in your childhood, and so it carried on into your adulthood, and now you can't have a healthy relationship because you don't know how to be healthy in a relationship, because there's nothing that we do that we just come in this world already knowing to do. Everything that we do is learned behavior.
Well, what if the child is too grown for their britches, and they think they know it all, so they need to go out here and learn on their own? Can't tell them that.
Well, this is true. This is true. And that definitely is going to happen. Definitely. It's going to happen. But
so do you let that child go out and learn to break cycles if you can't tell them anything?
Well, your job is to educate them and to teach them and to tell them. Now, they're going to do what they're going to do. So after you teach them, educate them, and let them know the way, and if you're trying to break a cycle and they still choose to go the only way, only thing you can do for them is pray for them at that time, because it's really out of your hands. It's the problem when we don't talk about it and we don't educate them and we don't talk to them about it, and they go out here and they have no idea that these things that it becomes the norm. Like,
why do you think people do that? Are they trying to hide reality from their children or their family? It's crazy.
Well, some people do. I mean, there's a lot of things. Some people want to have a certain status or a way that people view them in public, so their families can have a certain status in the community, and they definitely don't want those type of things to be brought out. So they make it like, I feel like us as a community, that we talk, we don't put enough emphasis on getting help if you need help. We make it like it's a bad thing. If you have to go get counseling or therapy, then something's wrong with you. It's a bad thing. I don't really think it's a bad thing. Like, what do you think?
Well, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I tell you what, it's time. You know what time it is, right?
What time?
Time for the hot topics.
Hot topics. Hot topics.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Even though we're talking about a very hot topic,
Yes.
so we gotta talk about what's going on today. You know, what tomorrow is.
Tomorrow, hot topics. So, yes, tomorrow is the midterm election voting day. Woo! For everybody in every state. Yes, do your duty
Yes.
to go and vote. We're going tomorrow.
Yes, go do your due diligence. It's a good time. It's a really important time.
Yeah, there's some serious things going on that you have a chance to voice your opinion now.
Did anybody watching? Did anybody go vote yet?
I've seen a couple people on our Facebook group that did early voting.
Wow.
Yeah, I should have done that, but I didn't.
So did anybody who's out there checking us out right now? I want to give a couple shout outs.
LaShonda, thank you for joining us. So if you, any of the things that we talk about, because this is an interactive broadcast, feel free to drop your comments and we will interact with you. And we love to hear from you.
Yes, we love to hear from everybody. Love to hear about your dysfunctional family issues and what do you do to bring it to the table.
Yes.
Are you into breaking cycles? I know we are. You know, we believe in being independent and being, work for ourselves and try to have something for our family so that we can pass on generational wealth.
Right. And another big thing what we didn't talk about.
What's that?
That is our making sure that our behaviors as adults, what we do, that we are aware that our kids, it's a reflection, our kids watch us, and they do see more than we think that they don't see.
Yeah.
So let's just think about this for a second. As a parent, the way that you and I are with each other. So for me, for the son, the boys, I teach them nurturing and what a woman should do for their man. So when they're looking for a woman, I'm hoping that they look for somebody, because you always tell them, make sure you find somebody like your mama. Well, what does that really mean? Somebody that's going to be there for you, somebody that's going to be, when you're sick, that's always there, ride it out, down for you all the time. He tells our boys that all the time. And that's the golden rule with what you say. Not that your significant other is going to be your mother or act like your mother, but someone that you know that's just not going to be here today.
And gone tomorrow.
When it gets rough and tough, they out of here. Deuces. I'm out. I'm not putting up with this. I can't do this.
Yeah, it's just, when you think about breaking cycles, you got to think about all around the board. Because, we all were born here and we all embedded in many cycles that we can break. Whether it's financial, whether it's eating healthy, whether it's family issues and learning how to stop repeating those same old habits that you guys are known for. Might be known for being a crazy family. Oh yeah, they all crazy. I wouldn't want to be crazy. I want to be known for being smart. So, just want to break cycles. And I think that we all can kind of look in the mirror, look at ourselves, and start working on ourselves first. You know what I'm saying? Once you work on yourself, you understand how to treat others.
Yeah. And the first point to breaking the cycles is awareness. You have to do the self-reflection and be aware.
Yes.
Is there something that you think you need to fix? or that you want to fix. That self-awareness will cause you to dig deeper into what you want to change and to break the cycles, because everybody wants better for their kids, but you can't be operating in dysfunction yourself and say you want better for your kids and you're not trying to do better for yourself, because you got to take care of yourself and make sure yourself is right first, before you can help others. And so that's what it really is. Our actions. If you are if you are in an abusive household, then in a relationship you're going to be abusive if you don't decide to make the change. It's going to be a repetitive cycle. Those things are very, very important. I know it was a sensitive topic, and those of you that catch us on the replay, you want to leave some feedback. We will respond back to you. And definitely, what we're going to talk about, we're going to wrap this up. What we're going to talk about next week?
Gonna make a change for once in my life. Michael Jackson sung it to you, man. You know what I'm saying?
Gonna feel good.
Gonna make it right. Yeah. Go look in the mirror.
Hey.
And check yourself.
All right.
What we're going to talk about next week? Next week's going to be pretty cool. Next week, because we're getting closer to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so I thought that we should do for the whole month of November. We kicked it off today with dysfunctional family issues and breaking cycles. I thought that for the month of November that we should definitely hit on everything that deals with families for this month. Because
families are going to be seeing families and traveling, and so we just want to, maybe we can have conversations like this when you guys have Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah. Talk about it. Don't be afraid. Don't be offensive.
Yeah.
And
get out the cell phone. Get out the laptops. Have a conversation. Bring it to the table.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah, that's dysfunction.
Yeah. I know. I'm guilty of that.
Bring it to the table and talk about
it. I'm guilty of it when he want to bring it to my attention, but I definitely turn the tables and let him know when it's his time. But he has amnesia at that moment. What are you talking about? I don't recall. That's his word. He don't recall.
Oh boy.
All right. So next week is blended families, and we are being transparent as we are in all of our segments. We are a blended family ourselves, so we are going to put some polls out there and some, we definitely want you guys to give us some feedback and let us know what you are thinking when we put the polls out, and we'll discuss it. And make sure you tune in with us again on Monday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time on Facebook Live and YouTube. That's where you can catch us.
Well, I'll tell you what, no matter what we do
or what we say,
we always find a way
to come together
and bring it to the table.
All right. Well, that's another conclusion of Bring It to the Table, folks. We do thank you for joining in with us. And we are out. I am Naricia Williams.
And I am Christopher Tiptoe Williams. And we want to thank you guys for tuning in. One love. Peace.
Is going to the strip clubs okay when you're married? Does your social media habits affect your relationship? How outside influence affects the relationship? This interactive show is live broadcasted on YouTube.